post-stimulus world conclusion. There's so much focus with behavior now, psychology, the mind, control, restriction, and 1,000 other words. I've already said it now. What makes what I'm describing with stimulus more effective and a better path forward for the world, the better choice for the person to make, has to do with how calm and relaxed life gets now. A person's not worrying about where their finger is right now. They're not worrying about the word that's coming out of their mouth now. They're not worrying the shape of their face in relation to the person standing across the hall, who's friends with another person over a few buildings down, where the two different people have to walk in order to get to their location where they buy some beer, some hamburgers, some weed, some drugs. The two are both talking about stimulus. Stimulus doesn't need behavior, though, with the exceptions of people who need extra services, who aren't as cognitively aware, who might be suffering from some deficit, disorder, and maybe can't understand stimulus and can only go and do, find and get behavior. For the gosh darn bigger world, though, and especially anybody who's been to college or gone very far in school knows, you got to show up for class. You got to be prepared. You got to get good grades, or you get yelled at by your mom or dad or whoever, or, you can't get a good job. These are the traditional examples. Behavior is the easiest part of the world for most people, and why psychopaths and sociopaths are so scary. They take advantage a lot like drug dealers, timing stuff, attention blinking, and all kinds of tricks and magic and sorcery, witchcraft. A lot of ooh la la. Stimulus gives more time to have now. I'm not describing an hour turned into 4 days. More specifically, an afternoon, an evening, kind of like older past years where people would go to lunch in the afternoon and make decisions to have a nice meal, go dancing at night, except they know now what they're choosing for their stimulus and what they need to do to have a return to now. So for instance, a person takes 4 days, they do some weed, they do some kratom, they do some mushrooms, they do some beer, some alcohol, some liquor, and then they're done with their holiday vacation. Fatigued, disoriented, confused. Normally at risk for depression, at risk for getting hit by a car, sadly. An extreme example, but with the stimulus there's the next stimulus afterwards. Having food, a good stimulus. And then the start or in some senses the restart. And not so much of the disorientation, the paranoia, and the freak out. A lot of people describe as emotions. The world with the stimulus and understanding what I'm describing has other choices and options always available. But for the psychiatry and the health information, these kinds of discussions help at the more difficult conjunctures. There's less people pointing their finger at behavior after these kinds of choices get made, and more people ready and willing to get the brain, the body going again. Not other people getting them to get their stuff, their SHIT together now. People slowly making progress, learning, exploring, finding out the limits, and keeping those parts from being a distraction. People's faces get less scary. Words and language are less harsh, descriptive. And restricting. And more what they should be in the world, a stimulus. A calm sound for other people who don't need all of the stimulus. The stimulus for the seeker, for the wanting, for the desiring, and the elimination and determination for what they've done are causing violence and burning down buildings, people dying. The world doesn't have to be post-stimulus with only repetition. Paperwork, free money, neutral emotions and gender. The theory assumes, in this context, everybody will eventually be so conscious and aware as one. And all of the research available and all of the data and information in book after book after book from year after year after year of people learning about the brain and the body and talking about the mind says, in so many words, the assumption doesn't have any validity. People will always be born with different gifts, different struggles, and inabilities to be the normal, plain, conscientious citizen. The end.